How many families miss the warning because they weren't listening closely enough? Strange sentences, repeated again and again, that didn't quite make sense. Most people brush it off, assuming it's stress, aging, or just a bad day. But in many cases, those unsettling phrases were the brain's first sign of dementia. This video reveals 7 disturbing things real seniors said long before they were officially diagnosed. So stay with me until the end. What you learn today could help protect the mind of someone you love before it's too late. Number 1. You're making that up. I never said that. Dorothy, 74, had always been level-headed, but her husband started noticing something strange. She'd ask what time they were going out for dinner, then 5 minutes later, insist she never asked. One evening, after forgetting a full conversation about a doctor's appointment, she got defensive. "You're making that up," she said sharply. "I never said that." What began as occasional confusion turned into daily arguments. Her husband felt like he was walking on eggshells. It wasn't until a year later, when she forgot how to get home from the nearby store, that they finally sought professional help. Dorothy was later diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and suddenly, every fight made painful sense. Experts confirm that the brain often fails to store short-term speech or events in early dementia. So when the person can't remember what they just said, they assume someone else must be lying. It's not manipulation, it's damage to the brain's internal tracking. And over time, those missing moments create emotional landmines in even the closest relationships. New dementia videos daily. Feel free to subscribe. Number 2. Why are you looking at me like that? Jimmy, 79, had always been close with his daughter, but 2 years before his Lewy body dementia diagnosis, she noticed something was off. Whenever she made eye contact, he'd glance away and ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" At first, she thought it was a joke, but he asked it again and again. Over time, he began avoiding face-to-face conversations altogether. He said people were staring at him, even when no one was. Then it grew more bizarre. One night during a family dinner, he abruptly stood up and said, "He's watching me. He's been watching me all evening," while pointing to a blank wall. That was the moment his daughter stopped brushing it off and decided to seek help. Research shows that early dementia can disrupt how the brain interprets facial expressions and social cues. What used to feel normal, eye contact, casual smiles, subtle glances, can suddenly feel threatening or confusing. The result is a creeping sense of paranoia or self-consciousness, even toward loved ones. When someone starts misreading the faces around them, the issue might not be emotional, it might be neurological. Number 3. Everything feels too loud today. Sheila, 67, used to love family gatherings. She'd host dinner every Sunday, full house and full of laughter. But gradually, she started retreating. She said the clinking dishes were too sharp, the kids were too loud, and music made her head feel cluttered. Her family thought her hearing was getting more sensitive with age, but over the years, it became more intense. She stopped attending family gatherings altogether, and when she started covering her ears, saying the sound of running water felt like a fire alarm, her daughter finally pushed for a neurological exam. Sheila was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's at age 69. Studies show that in many dementia cases, the brain's ability to filter sound is the first things to break down. Even with normal hearing, everyday sounds can feel harsh, especially in crowded or unpredictable places. This sensory overload can lead to stress, confusion, and withdrawal. When someone says things feel too loud, even in quiet places, it may not be their ears. It may be the brain struggling to process what used to feel normal. Most don't mean to wait. They just hope it's stress, aging, or something that will pass. But with dementia, waiting often means losing time you can't get back. Let's continue. Number 4. Nobody ever listens to me. Lawrence, 70, had always been sharp and opinionated, but lately, every conversation seemed to set him off. He'd cut people off mid-sentence, then accuse them of interrupting him. When his son corrected a simple detail that he got wrong, Lawrence snapped, "Nobody ever listens to me." It became a common outburst, and family relationships grew tense. Then, a year before he was diagnosed with vascular dementia, something shifted. One afternoon, after another argument, he brought out a notebook filled with dates and conversations and said, "I have proof now. No one can say I'm wrong anymore." That was the moment that pushed the family to finally act. His daughter called the doctor that week and got the result they already suspected. Scientists agree that early dementia can affect both language and self-awareness. When the brain struggles to follow conversations, it can twist what's heard or what's said, making the person feel constantly misunderstood. This isn't just frustration, it's a breakdown in how the brain tracks communication. When someone repeats, "Nobody listens to me," their brain may not be keeping the conversation straight anymore. Number 5. This place keeps changing. Elizabeth, 82, had lived in the same house for over 40 years. But 2 years before her Alzheimer's diagnosis, she began saying things didn't look right. The hallway feels longer, and someone moved the kitchen table. At first, they thought it might be a reaction to medication. But then she started checking the locks repeatedly, convinced someone had been rearranging furniture while she was asleep. Then things took a darker turn. One morning, she suddenly called 911 and said, "This place keeps changing. It's not mine anymore." That was the moment her daughter stopped dismissing it as aging and scheduled a full neurological workup. Studies indicate that dementia can affect spatial awareness and orientation long before memory loss is obvious. The brain starts misinterpreting distances, shapes, and layouts, making familiar environments feel unfamiliar. What seems like paranoia or confusion might actually be the brain struggling to recognize space that once felt safe. If someone begins saying their home looks different or feels off, it may be their brain that's changing. Number 6. I don't trust myself to do this anymore. At 73, Alex started hesitating with simple tasks. One day, while trying to refill a prescription online, he said, "I don't trust myself to do this anymore." His daughter offered to help, but he waved her off. Over time, he stopped driving altogether, saying it was just easier to stay home. The final straw came when he was caught trying to open the neighbor's front door with his mailbox key. That day, they decided it was time to call the doctor. Alex was diagnosed with mixed dementia just before his 75th birthday, and the family regretted not acting sooner. Studies confirm that one early sign of dementia is a loss of confidence. The person still functions well on the outside, but inside, they begin to second-guess themselves. Decisions that once came easily are clouded with doubt, and familiar routines suddenly feel risky when someone who once took pride in being capable starts pulling back. Without reason, it's often because their brain senses something isn't working right. Number 7. I just said that, didn't I? When Martha was 71, her husband noticed something strange. She started repeating herself mid-conversation, then catching it. "Honey, I just said that, didn't I?" she'd ask with a laugh. He brushed it off at first, but over time, it worsened. She'd lose her train of thought and ask, "Did I already tell you this?" Her family grew concerned when she told the same story 3 times at lunch, then fell quiet and withdrawn. Her daughter finally took her in for an evaluation, and later Martha was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. The family later realized the signs had started nearly 3 years earlier. Experts say this kind of self-correction can be one of the earliest verbal signs of cognitive decline. The brain struggles to track short-term speech, and the person senses something is slipping. At first, they mask it with humor, but as the gaps widen, it leads to frustration, anxiety, and isolation. When someone keeps second-guessing their own words, it may be their brain quietly falling behind. If someone you love has started speaking the truth without realizing what it means, don't ignore it. The earlier you act, the better chance you have to protect their mind.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.